Let's talk revenue and how that word can be very, very deceiving. I'm Clay, let me explain. Quick disclosure up front, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, so if you're one of those and you're watching this, I'm probably gonna drive you insane. But my goal here, remember with this segment, is to just offer up basic ground level knowledge on things that people can then build from. So yes, I realize that these terms, I'm probably missing all the nooks and crannies, but that's not the idea here. The idea here is just to convey the broad concept that people, like I said, can build knowledge from. So revenue, what is it? How can it be deceiving? Well, let's just start with the what real quick. So revenue, if you've heard the term, is just money. What kind of money? Well, the money that a business brings in, right? So a business, that's probably the worst. Those are supposed to be some skyscrapers, okay? So that is what a business is bringing in. That is their revenue, their sales, whatever their product, their services, whatever they are giving, that is revenue. If you set up a lemonade stand and somebody gives you $1 for that glass of lemonade, that dollar is your revenue as a lemonade stand company. So that's what revenue is. But a lot of people say, all right, well, that's how much money you make. Well, that's where things get a little sketchy. That's where things get a little deceiving. So what do I mean by how much money you make? Because yeah, you do make money. If you give me a dollar, yeah, I made $1 in the sense of I now have $1 to put into my wallet. But there's other numbers out there that you need to pay attention to and that really actually matter. And in the world of business and just numbers in general, the other term that needs to be focused on is your expenses. And that is also money, but the expenses relate to this, meaning how much did it cost to actually generate that, right? So let's go with the lemonade thing. You had to actually buy the lemonade, expense. You had to buy, we'll just say it's, the stereotypical like wooden stand. You had to buy the wood to build the stand, expense. You had to buy the cup that you would serve it in, expense. So for all of this, if you spent, let's just say 95 cents to sell a cup of lemonade that you got $1 for, did you actually make $1? Well, of course not. You didn't make that at all. Now, here's how the numbers, and I want to go with a little bit bigger numbers here, but let's say a company's like, wow, this company made, that marker's kind of sharp. So some company made, let's just call it $50 million. And this is the revenue. I mean, wow, that's a lot of money. $50 million in sales and all that the business was able to generate, that's a lot. But what happens if I said, well, yeah, but the expenses, so the expenses over here were $55 million. So the question becomes, did the company actually make $50 million? Well, no. They actually lost $5 million. How so? How does that math work? Well, nothing fancy here. You always want to take revenue minus expenses, and then that's going to give you what would be known as your profit. And your profit is what a business makes or loses, okay? So in this situation, revenue of 50 minus expense of 55, that's a negative number. And when you have a negative number in accounting and all that, that means you lost money. So that is why on the surface, for when a company's saying, yeah, our revenue was $50 million, you got to go a little bit deeper than that. You have to understand just how much expenses it took to generate that. Now, this is also where maybe you've heard of, you gotta work on your profit margins. What is a profit margin? Well, a profit margin is, let's just say that the company, so let's change this to expenses of 40. So again, 50 right here minus 40 equals what? 10. 10 of profit. Or $10 million in profit, what they literally made. So for that profit margin, that's telling you that they actually have a margin in there where there's a way to, there's some wiggle room. Because they're spending money to make money, sure, but the money that they're spending is not as much. So there is a margin in there for them to make money. And that's what the term profit margin means. Is profit margin is just referring to what is the relationship between these two numbers. The higher the profit margin, the better. So that is what you want to focus on. If you're operating at like a 2% profit margin, that's not very good. If a company is operating, to take it to the extreme, at a 90% profit margin, that is extremely, extremely excellent. But that's all kind of, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, because the main thing here is just making sure that you truly understand what revenue is and why it can be a little bit deceiving. And the question needs to always be, so if you want to impress your friends, oh, did you hear about this company? They did, such and such $1 million in sales, in revenue. Then, well, what were their expenses associated with that? Because from that, now you can start to work your way down to that profit margin discussion. But a company that makes a whole bunch of money, but has to spend even more money to make that, that's definitely some gray territory there. And in some situations, that's how companies are going to go bankrupt. It's sure they're making sales, but their expenses are just way too much relative to those sales. So that is what revenue is and why it can be very, very deceiving. So keep that in mind. Whether you're looking to invest in stocks or just general knowledge or what have you, you can't only look at how much sales there are, because there's a lot of other numbers that go into it. But the main number just boils down to those expenses. So keep that all in mind. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up, as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.